You want us to be the CEO of that place?
Definitely. But white collar criminals should be dealt with not just to be assaulted, but in terms of the reaction, just to be strong as the way we are dealing with pickpocketers. At the bus rank, they might even kill a thief who stole a phone.
Yeah, no,
so if they can give that energy, my patriotism is not to the government, it's not to the ministers, it's not to my patriotism, it is to Botswana. That's the thing that I owe my loyalty to. That is the gateway towards corruption. We're not supposed to ask for money from.
That's some red. That's what they all say, man. That's what they all say.
Just that with the BURS, they were targeting Batswana the most. To happen with the BURS, they can never raid some nationalities.
Botswana, we are with Setlhomo Raymond Tshwanelang. He's a very well-known investigative journalist, and we've been trying to get him on for quite some time. Finally, we managed to get the venue and the timings right, and he's someone that is actually who travels out a lot. So to get him is something that is we were privileged to have you, sir. And thank you for giving us your precious time. We know that you're a very busy man. You've been going through a lot of things recently as well. So and thanks a lot for coming through. So I actually wanted to ask you, normally I've seen some of your work. I've seen a lot of people that are talking about the investigative part that you do, but we want to dwell much on like your personal life. How does a day in a life go for you?
Well, thank you so much for hosting me.
Yes.
And I think I'd like to clarify, I'm not an investigative journalist as such. I'm a criminologist by profession. But on social media, I think I'll call myself a social activist. I'd also call myself maybe an anti-corruption activist, a fraud examiner or a fraud analyst. In terms of my day, just that I don't live mostly in Botswana. So it's usually farm, family, and other business opportunities, and here and there, social media activism. That's how my day it is.
Okay.
Mostly.
I think I saw one of your podcasts, I think with Joey, and you mentioned, I think was it last year or was it the year before, you started a perfume business, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes.
And you mentioned that I think within a year's time you'll be doing some quite big numbers. So how's that going?
Oh, unfortunately with the business I got hold of other things, but it was doing well. It ran for almost a year or 9 months, because I opened last year or a year before last in November, and then it closed unfortunately in December, and then it closed in November last year. So it ran for almost 9 months or 11 months, somewhere there. And it was doing well despite the hiccups here and there. Just that it is the model that I had adopted was more of a personal shopper, where I'll buy perfumes in Europe because they're made in Europe, basically. France, Germany, Greece, the UK. Then they'll come to my address in Ireland, and then I'd forward them here. My fiancé would receive them, and then they would dispatch them to whosoever is meant to receive them, to my clients or to our clients. So but now when I'm not there, it means that there is none who receive them, because most European staff they sell to European clients or European addresses. So to have them to Africa, it's sometimes very difficult, unless
is it also costly because of
yes, it's a very costly. So you need to have, let's say you need quite an investment. So if you're a small time seller, you definitely would need, I'd say, to go through drop shipping, because what I was doing is more of a drop shipping. But all in all, it was doing well, and with investment, I think I might pull up it someday. Just that right now I got focused on other personal things.
You mentioned earlier on how, because of your traveling there and coming back, that's why you were able to conduct these businesses. Is it not possible to start that over here? Having a physical store and then importing in bulk and then.
Yes, it is. Just that for me, I've never been much into physical stores. Where I come from in Ireland, including toothbrush, anything you just buy online, the online shopping or the digital marketplace. You speak of Amazon, you speak of eBay, everything is digital. So that has transformed my view about physical stores. Physical billboards, to me they're just the relics of the past. They don't serve much. You'd be paying, like, there are more overheads for running a physical store. That is rent. The rent in Gaborone, it's ridiculously high. And then it also goes into staff wages. It also goes into bills and overheads. So basically, running a store in Gaborone, we're just looking sometimes 10,000 at a minimum, just into overheads, including the rent and any other things. That's when you are starting. That's quite a lot. That is why many businesses fail in Botswana. Businesses don't fail because they don't have the market or the target, but more often than not is the rents. So a large amount goes into rent. Then among those, there's also a need to have insurances. There's also a need to have, there are lots of risks that are involved. I mean, there was also theft involved. When you are running a store, you are sure of theft and a whole lot of things. But when you are running an online store, basically, I would say that my expenses were quite, it was just mainly about transport and of course labor and marketing cost. So they were very, to me, even if I'm to start in Botswana, it will just be a digital store. People will just buy online and then I'll deliver to their doorsteps. And it was doing well. I was pulling up a huge number, just that for me, I just had to focus on something. But if I'm to go back as I intend to, I might reopen and still would do well, even better. Just that what I was looking into is to have readily available stock. Because if you pay me and I buy for you, it means that I don't control the price. It means that the price might go up as soon as you pay me, but I'm forced to buy for you. It means also the transport cost. It meant that I was shipping, initially I was shipping every 2 weeks, but eventually, because a lot of people were buying, so I was forced to ship every other week. So with the shipping, it's like going up, it doesn't go down. So it meant that I have to spend more on
this
shipping.
Was during COVID?
Even now, no, after COVID. The shipping, because I was doing what we call express shipping, it's air shipping. Air shipping is more expensive, just like air ticket. If you check right now, flying from here to Joburg, you'd find that it might be 3.5, 2.5. It will never go to 500 the air ticket, because I was shipping like expedited by air. I wasn't using the sea or any other long. So it meant that literally I would put them on, they will be collected.
Why wouldn't you just use the normal shipping, the one that takes a month or two?
No, because with perfumes, like, those people be telling you that my perfume is running out. So mine was 3 to 4 weeks delivery. You want to deliver on time. Like, those are sort of, they are being consumed here and now and then. So it's like food. The only thing that will take a month is maybe a car or some sort of a thing. But when it comes to things, beauty products, really, you need to sell them that is readily available, or at least within a week. Even one thing that is why I ended up sending within every other week. I wanted to reduce my time. I think towards the closure, I was now, because it used to take about 4, sometimes 6 weeks, but now I was doing more like 2 to 4 weeks delivery.
What about the issues with BURS? Like, how was the custom clearance and all that?
At first, we did have a lengthy battle, and eventually, I think it died. They tried to manage me, but it continued. Just that with the BURS, they were targeting Batswana the most. They were targeting people like me who are free or who speak their minds. But they would never target certain people in the society. It was a matter of skin color, matter of class, and everything. So I've had my issues with them, and I still believe that they need transformative leadership. They need to, their structures, they need to look into them. If it was elsewhere, I would say they are racist, but they are not racist as such. But just that
they're getting paid off for what they're doing.
No, they are not getting paid what they are doing. It's like the rules they apply to me is not the rules that they apply to another person.
The rules for thee, not for me.
Yeah, so it's more like an animal farms, whereby not all animals are equal. Some are more equal than others. So that's what happens, or that continue to happen with the BURS. They can never raid some nationalities. They can never punitively deal with them. But now when it comes to a Botswana, they would want to apply law to the very end or to the latter of things. Even right now, if you go through airport, you might not be searched the same way I would be searched, or you might be searched more than I would be searched. So a matter of nationality, a matter of skin color, a matter of class, your family surnames, like they profile people in a very more bad way, such that you might even be disadvantaged yourself. Like you might be treated a certain way that I may not be. They might favor me as opposed to you. Say, oh, it's just from, we're gonna let him pass. But when it comes to you, they would even scrutinize you. So there's a lot of profiling that is so bad that needs to be re-looked into. It's not professional, the manner in which they are dealing with things. People have to be treated regardless of skin color, regardless of class, just like you're a human being. We deserve to be treated the same or equally.
No, if you allow me, I think there is a story I'll tell you. Just I came back from university recently. I was coming through this one, SSKB, and when I arrived at the airport, I didn't realize that, you know, for the couple of years we have had that machine. There's a BURS scanning machine, and then there's a security scanning machine. But for many years, we never used the BURS scanning machine. It was just there on the side. But for the past 2 years, I think 2 to 3 years, they have been utilizing that machine. And now what they do is that it's even the smallest thing that you have purchased. It doesn't like have to be a luxury item. It's the smallest thing that you have purchased. A box of sweets even, they will scrutinize you for that also. Once it goes through the scanner and they're like, okay, this is a new item. You say it's for consumption. They will still say, okay, still fine. Even if you're using for consumption, for your personal consumption, they still charge you for that. So I had to face that challenge. But at the same time, when I was at the immigration counter, I met someone that was from my home village, from Muchudi. So when we started speaking and she's like, okay, where are you from, Muchudi? She even closed my passport. She just started asking me questions like that. And I was like, no, I'm from Ramped. He's like, Ramped. Then she started asking me, do you know Litasi's house? I'm like, yeah, I used to stay there. So the conversation shifted from interrogation to like a friendly conversation. And the day before I had taken off from Moscow, the immigration officer there, like I tried to, you know, say something nice, friendly to break the ice. He looked me straight in the eye and told me that I should answer the questions that he's asking. I shouldn't talk about anything else. So in Botswana, we do have that. Like, this is the only country whereby you can go to an immigration counter, you can go to an official, and they will still be friendly with you. They won't be that strict as compared to other countries. You have lived in Ireland, you have seen how the EU does its thing when you're traveling to making stops there. They're very strict with their ways, but here we are a bit more relaxed. I do believe that. But when it comes to the taxes part, I agree with you. There are certain communities that tend to get away with it. My belief is that, you know, they have something on the inside. They have someone on the inside, because our revenue for Botswana is through excess duty. We are getting 22% for the budget. 17% is for the minerals. That's what they announced not too long ago, if I'm not mistaken. So the excess duty is coming from these customs and these other things that we are getting into the country. The Chinese, basically, they bring in a lot of stuff, a lot of goods, and I feel like maybe somewhere, somehow, someone is looking the other way. They are not, you know, for example, you will bring 1,000 iPhones in a container, and then they will put a value that this thing is only for 80,000 pula, but then the actual value will be way above that. So this is how they circumvent this thing. I'm not sure. Do you remember the time a few months ago, before election, there were 2 Chinese nationals who were caught with 7 million pula?
Yes. Just that in Botswana, I think we have this thing of treating locals different than I'd say visitors or foreigners. They are often, even today, if say for example we have maybe international visitors, the Gaborone City Council will be going around cleaning and fixing potholes. All of a sudden we are having street lights will be now working and everything. So we have these things of living a life of a lie. For example, in Muchudi, your home village, whenever you are coming there or whenever you are there, let's say for example a member of parliament or minister is coming there, you know that if there is going to be a minister, the council will be running around, debushing the area around that, trying to put a face. So we don't treat locals the same way we treat that. Whether it's a corrupt activity or not, it's something that has been normalized. They have this saying, this is Zona saying, it says, as in a visitor, whenever they come, they'll always be treated differently. Even at home, the mama will pull up new tumbles, new plates and everything. Like all of a sudden you have a better relish than on normal days. Like, we have the way of treating outsiders better than the locals. We don't have a way of equal treatment. In EU, you are treated equally, or they try to treat you equally, officials. So, but here, the unfortunate part, that is why today, much as people might say certain communities bring much tax, they don't bring it as they should. Right now, if you go to certain community stores in Botswana, much as it's not mandatory, but they still accept the cash only. This cash only, there is no law that tries to emphasize on taking or making sure that there is a law that would ensure that you have to use also the machine, that there has to be an option for that. Yeah, but now they make it
in the EU they have the NFCs in the phone.
Yes,
online.
That is to allow, it's mostly cashless society. For the 7 years that I've been there, I think for the last 6 years, I don't remember myself holding a large amount of money. Like, I rarely went into the ATM.
But even the charges are less, you know. We don't pay commissions. You know, here what the banks are doing, they take money from you, they charge you, and they charge the merchant 3.5% for the merchant, and I think 3% for the user. Yes,
in here, that is why the government, to me, it's not doing enough in terms of ensuring that the banks, literally, I cannot, as a business person, because I also wanted to set up a website, like, all I wanted was for me to link my own account to the website, so that someone can pay and then the money will go into my account. That money was so ridiculously higher than even my profits for a year. And then I asked myself,
just the bank charges
for them to transact every transaction, like, it was ridiculously high, such that is why in Botswana today we don't have many websites that would take that you can pay with your card. That is why maybe today we don't have merchants, because the government, you know, the government failed when it came to, like, you remember that about 2 to 3 years ago, there were a lot of criminal activities relating to cash in transit. Like, as in those companies were targeted the more. What the government should have done, because some of that money belonged to these banks, they should have set in place condition that if you offer you security, you need to facilitate digital cash in the society. That is cashless society. You need to start now reducing even your commission when it comes to people. Like, I cannot, because it means that if as a merchant, I'll be paid 1 for people to pay via the machine that I use, as in they pay on their side, I also pay on my side. And not only that, the money that goes into that account, there is also sort of service fee. There is also called the maintenance fee. Like, you literally have to pay that. So it means that literally it's like you are paying 3 times for using that. Whereas in Europe, for example, there were many accounts that I've owned. I don't even realize that I have paid much. Really.
I think there is a Revolut. Have you used Revolut?
I use a Revolut. It's almost free of charge. It's like Orange Money, but here Orange Money.
No, it charges. Orange Money charges.
Yeah, no, I'm saying like it works almost similarly to Orange Money, just that the difference is here and there. But in terms of Orange Money, it means that it's easily accessible. With Revolut is that I can simply top up my account with it. It's more like student, if you want to go on a student
they give points, and there's also other benefits on those cards, you know?
Yeah, on Revolut.
But in Botswana, we don't have anything.
Yeah, no, in Botswana, it's literally...
They're always, you know, they're like termites. They're trying to suck out as much as they can.
Yes, it's capitalist society.
You remember when the government has waived the fees for students for allowances? And FNB was still charging them.
Yes.
And then there was a whole scandal.
Yes,
remember
why is it that the government is paying for service fee for these people, but yet you are also charging them monthly basis? That is because in Botswana, businesses are not up for consumers. They are up to take as much as they can from Botswana. That is why today some people were, they raised up their hands when we complained about the vegetable ban. The government and Bagaetso said that it is a bad economics, and we agreed, some of us, with them. Some they did not, saying that if today you are to tell me that you are going to close borders and then I can only consume that which is available, why then after the ban you have to increase the price, and then the quality goes lower? In Europe and any part of the world, if you ban vegetables, one, you are sure that the supply is very high and the quality is good, and even the prices are reasonable. In Botswana, once you close, you do what is called a monopoly. When the borders were closed, vegetables, the prices went 3 times higher the quality went 3 times lower, and then you will be told that it's either you are not the target market or just support local. You have no means or right to communicate or the right to voice out. And then when you complain again, they'll tell you that eventually the prices would go better. And then you, at whose expense? Should it be me or you as the farmer? Why is this not? Because in any part of the world or in any system, there is what we call shared risk. If I'm to take or carry the burden of inflated prices, you as also as the customer, you have to also carry the burden of inflated cost. So here it's more like, oh, only the consumer has to suffer. You as the farmer, you have to make as much profit as
they were subsidized. They were given subsidies on
many other things. But with us, with our prices, they were not. So it meant that in Botswana, they didn't care whether it takes 10 years for the prices to go lower. Like right now, there are many businesses that dealt with the end products of vegetables, including women who used to sell on the side of the road, including people who used to sell mafresh and other chips. They had to close because some of them they could not afford to buy from farmers. The quality was unreasonable. Some farmers, things are very far of reach. So literally that thing was not benefiting Botswana as such. It was only benefiting the few. Like literally a policy in Botswana will come at the expense of the majority. A policy in a better society has to come at the expenses of all, not the majority. It has to be equal.
I wanna also touch on the new law that passed on the 14th of January, the Data Protection Act. It's limiting. I saw an interview which was given by, I think there's someone from the Editors Forum, the Botswana Editors Forum, and Mirza, and they mentioned how this new Data Protection Act, because we had the one in 2018, and then they updated this one year 2024, whereby now you need third-party consent, and whereby there is a section which now says that, for example, if you are talking about that individual, and if that individual says that no, that is a certain information from your publication, it's going to cause them harm, they can refuse for you to publish it, and you have to abide by that now. So I don't know what's your take on that.
Okay, no, in terms of the Data Protection Act, I have not familiarized myself with it. I'm yet to go through it. But to me, I'd say it's I'd say bigger things of bigger scale, I consider it a good thing. Botswana did not have a data protection law for a very long time. Today, for example, if you call one of these major banks, the fraud departments, you'll be surprised you'll be answered by someone in South Africa. You want a service today, many things will be from South Africa. It meant that we had to outsource many of our services or our data, critical data, to South Africa, health-wise. Even today, in terms of handling data, you go in any ministry today, there will be a book there. You have to write your name, your ID, your number. When I come after you, I can simply skim through your number, your mang, and your address and your plate number. I can simply take that data. So there was, even during COVID, people's names were written, and there was nothing that would guarantee me where does my details go. Like, it's not everyone that I would want them to have my number, or even when they have number, it's not everyone that I would want them to have my plate number, my car registration number, or my ID number. Like, you see, in terms of data handling, data processing, data storage, we didn't have a legislation that would try and protect that. Because one of the things, as much as they might, because I'm here to read it, hopefully this weekend I'll be reading it. One of the things I would speak about the data protection law in Ireland or in EU, GDPR, is that one of the things that it also allows or gives you as a consumer or as a citizen the right to request information. Like as in data protection, like I can request any information about me.
But our law does not provide for that.
Oh, okay.
It does not. That's what the Mirza guys were saying. That because the journalism price, that's why they were saying that they should be. You see, even in the EU, there is exemption for journalists. There is an exemption in their law that says that if that is for the public good, then you are allowed to still release that information. So, and even there they have it's called ROI, right, to something ROI or something. You apply for it. For example, if I want to know at the parliament why that desk was bought for how much and from who, I can apply on their site. I pay a certain fee, and then they will give me information, in detail information, who actioned it, or from where did they get the quotations, how many companies applied. All of that will be provided, and they will charge you per page. So in Botswana, what they did was the data protection one they have did, but they have not did the law for right to information. So even as of now, We can't just go to any district council and ask them, Kana, you said you had spent 300 million. Can you show me a cost breakdown of this 300 million? They can still say, no, we don't want to tell you. And we can't say anything about it.
Yes, in Botswana, the freedom or access to information has been quite a barrier to many of us. But we are hopeful that since it has been enacted, the data protection, maybe we'll see some positive developments. So because with the reason why I'm kind of restricted to comment freely because I haven't read it, and not only that, is that this was already in the pipeline. Whether there had been a new government or the old government, it was something that it was already at an advanced stage, such that I feel like some of these things should have been raised before it has been passed into practice. But we'll see how we navigate through it.
So I want to talk about these FX scams. Now I call them scams. I don't think that they're actually money making, something that is like a business. It's more of a scam. And recently, back in the day, we had those MLMs and multi-level marketing and associate marketing and what. They were scams and Ponzi schemes back in the day. Now they have shifted to the digital market. So there's this lady. I think she doesn't use her real name on TikTok. It's I think Daily Pay by Nika or something like that. If you look at it, she's encouraging a lot of she's a lady from South Africa. She stays somewhere in the central district, and you know what she does? She sells courses. She says, okay, you can make passive income. They call it like affiliate marketing or something, whereby she'll sell you a course, and then whenever you think there's a website, you invest like $800 or $200 depending on the course you want. Basically, they're just telling you need to post the same videos and then get other people to do the same, and then you get a commission. So this sounds like a pyramid scheme of sorts, and we are seeing the Eco Plus thing happened some time back. We're seeing that now people are shifting to TikTok, and they are finding new ways to scam people. What's your take on these things?
I'm not much active on TikTok, but one thing that I know is that with crime, whether it's fraud, whether it's scams, they evolve. Like before TikTok, before Facebook, there were social media like Toilet. Before that, there were I think it was called Toilet or Toilet. Some years back, there used to be before Facebook. There was another social app that was there. Then there was also, I think, during the time zone, the eras of BlackBerry. There was, I forgot the name of that website app, or it was a website that was more like a social chat. Like, crime has evolved through newspapers. Some people place false ads and everything. So crime would always evolve. Like right now we have TikTok, we have had Instagram, we have had, before even the social media, there were email sort of chain messages where people were saying that 911 scam or 119 scams. We have had those. So I'm not surprised or shocked to hear that now they have migrated to TikTok. And one of the things that people always be victims of crime is that they touch it on people's vulnerabilities. People have financial problems, people have any other problem, and also the laws. That is why there are many more scams in Botswana or in African countries than other countries. It is because the laws are not much effective in terms of prevention part of things. The banks today, like with Ecoplexes, for example, they would recruit me. My account has been dormant, and then lots of money will come in from all over. Like, this is a personal account, this is not a business account. FNB, because it is one of the companies that was being used during Ecoplexes, they would not even like block my account temporarily and then
but would you get notifications and
do KYC? Because I mean, any account that has not been dealing with money and then all of a sudden it receives 20,000, 50,000, 100,000, 500,000 within a short period of time. In terms of security or fraud flags, it is a account of interest. We should be asking ourselves, what type of business? Because this is a personal account. This is a personal account. We look at the history. How much has it been receiving? From where? But now it's receiving from many other things. And also, this account has now been put on the social media for this particular scheme, but it has not been registered as that. Then it means that it is not compliant. It has to be blocked for that, so that it comply, so that the person has to account as to why they're using this account. Why can't they open a business account? Even if it was a business account, now it means that relevant authorities or relevant mechanisms have to be activated to protect even consumers and the bank image. But here you can literally use your account for illegal activities and the bank will look away. The banks are supposed to protect, like they have to do something.
They raise their hands. They
to say no, this is wrong. Literally, a bank can report you as a consumer that you are using that account for money laundering activities or fraud activities, and even notify the relevant authorities. But here they don't.
I wanted to, recently you mentioned something about the Cresta hotels and how somehow they happen. Even back in my senior days, I remember when I was with this gentleman in Naledi Senior at the time, and we used to go for competitions for like fairs and stuff. So they would be hosted at Tapama, and it will always be Cresta also. So when you mentioned that, I was like, you know what, now when I look at it in hindsight, it is true. Most of these functions and stuff, they are hosted. Did you get to the bottom of that?
Yes, I would also now, I'm meant to meet one of the minister to raise also to him. I did send it to Parliament. I'm also going to raise it to the minister. What Cresta and others, they are profiteers. They are beneficiary of a corrupt system and a monopolistic system. In our country, we see some businesses like Cresta benefiting through direct procurement. Every now and then, one after another. We need to have a competitive environment. If there are requirements in place, what are those requirements? Make it open for all. Things of direct procurement were supposed to be made or meant for emergency situation. If today you know that the president would be hosting country tours in March or May, why, or in 3 weeks time, why do you have to put it through direct procurement? Why not open bidding and a short contract for a week? And so, like, we now see Cresta being more like a default beneficiary. It's like we owe it. We do not.
But have you noticed something? There is another player in this that has entered the scene, and maybe I should just mention the name. You see, now the recent events that were held by the previous regime were going to Jamali. He opened a very big hotel in Tlokweng. I'm sure you have heard of the contract that he received by the previous, and then when Boko got in, he cancelled one of the events that was costing a ridiculous amount of money. So they were asking why not GICC, because GICC is partly owned by government. I'm not sure if you know. So whenever they hold these events at GICC, in a way the government is still generating revenue also. You get what I'm saying? But then they gave it to a completely private entity, which is now, and you know what the funny thing, we have in this country, we have no law that prevents you from monopolizing real estate. Do you know that the prices of houses in this city, I don't know how long you've been back for, but if you go to the housing market, a young kid at this, in 25, 26 year old, he will not afford a house. He won't even be able to get a mortgage because the prices have been jacked up artificially. Because let me tell you something. There's one individual that owns 5,000 plots within the city boundaries. 5,000 residential plots, not commercial. He owns 5,000 plots now, and he also owns hotels and chains like that. So we are just wondering, if you own that many amount of property, obviously you have control of the market. Obviously you can, and then the other individuals who owns also multiple properties, they're in like like a mafia of sorts, a real estate mafia. So they control the prices of real estate. To get a house in Muchudi or in Kanye, it will be very affordable. If you look at plots a little bit further from the town, you'll find plots which are going for 60, 50, 60. Here in G North is like 30 minutes from here. If you go deep inside there by the gravel, there is no tarred road there. There is no proper electricity or water. And the plot, you know how much it is? 500,000 pula. 500,000 pula. That's how much they are selling those plots for. So this monopoly that is existing, and the last time a media house wrote about this, that media house was bought by that individual also. I'm sure you know who I'm talking about.
Yeah, and the problem in Botswana is that the competition authority, which was supposed to protect the consumers, which is supposed to have an eye on this, because in Botswana what we have is, there are multiple things. One is price fixing. Like businesses, people, they come together and then fix price, or one individual fix prices through their multiple companies. There is also colluding. Like there are so many consumer, I'd say, theft or like there are many schemings that occurs. The consumer or the oversight institution or watchdogs, they have failed or they continue to fail to protect the consumer. So in Botswana, this idea or false notion of a free market economy has led to an instance or instances whereby now consumers are not protected. Now Batswana are not protected. So people are on their own. That is why today houses are like with that 500k, you can buy a house maybe in Durban, Joburg, Cape Town,
exactly.
or even developed societies,
Yes.
like societies that will be
Gated
near
estate.
the beach or gated communities. So here, some houses in Gaborone are so expensive that I'd rather own a house in London or a house in Birmingham or a house in somewhere else.
Not even, but just here, Joburg. It's not
Yeah,
even
so like because the regulatory bodies have failed.
Do you think there should be regulation? Do you think there should be a law that says, because there is a lower limit, you know, they do valuation, there is a lower limit that you can't sell below that. Do you think there should be an upper limit?
Yes, there should be a limit that is there, but also I think there should also be a market bust. Like we should have something that would lead to these prices to fall.
Do you think that there should be legislation that dictates that no one individual can own more than 10 residential plots? Because it doesn't make sense. Why do you need 10 houses in the same city?
Maybe it's a matter of supply and demand, a willing buyer and a willing
but that way
seller.
we are promoting
Because-
crony capitalism.
No, but I mean, people have to buy as much as things as they want. You can't dictate to them as to
So
the quantity.
look at the American housing market right now. It's corporations that own multiple houses. They're empty. There are homeless people on the streets, but there are houses which are empty because these corporations, they buy out all the residential properties, and they know that you are desperate. You don't have a choice.
I think one thing that we should, however, maybe focus on is the BHC. There is something called Botswana Housing Corporation. That was the one that was supposed to do all these things. Buy as many houses or buy as many plots and build as many houses and sell at a reasonable prices. But now BHC houses, not only are they ugly, but they are unreasonably priced and they are not affordable to Botswana. So that's the entity that has failed the country. It was supposed to invest highly on the houses. It was supposed to be the one that is able to regulate the pricing, the market price, because it meant that if I cannot afford the G North, I can easily afford a 400k house in Block 8 from BHC. It was meant to be like that. It was the one that was supposed to beat all these guys when it comes to houses or property prices, but they failed. Same as Botswana Railways. Botswana Railways was supposed to have waiting trains, so that now when you speak of public transport, if your bus says that to go there, of course the prices are regulated, but if it takes longer, I can simply jump into Botswana Railways. But they failed to.
Are they bringing it back?
I don't know, but it's just a corrupt organization. Even if they bring it back, it's gonna fail because what we need is just to dissolve Botswana Railway Board, fire the CEOs and directors, and start afresh.
So head must roll everywhere.
And clean it. But I don't have much hope of it ever getting back. So we're just.
Do you think we should invest in a metro system instead, a local metro system?
We need. The problem is that if you invest, you can't invest in a whole. You can't invest into something that is not working. You need to invest when there are proper structures, accounting structures. We need to have the Auditor General has failed their duty. It's just an incompetent institution. It's just there by name. It exists on paper. If it did not, Botswana Railways, many projects would not have collapsed. So we need to have mechanisms in place, even institutions. We need to rebuild this country, especially oversight.
I believe you made an organization as well for natives against corruption.
Yes.
So tell us more about that, and let's start with the name.
Yes, the name actually, the NACO, it was Natives Against Corruption Organization. It was, I did ask Batswana, or we went to set up an anti-corruption movement. Kindly come up with name. The one, many gave multiple names, others received more. Actually, this name, I think it received more likes than others. Yet still we picked, I think, about 5 to 10 from those. set up a private WhatsApp group whereby we had about 800 Batswana, and then we put all of them and said vote. They voted. I think it was one of those which were voted among the top 3, and then we submitted, I think, 5 to Register of Society. Register of the Society then has the final say on what name they pick for us. So we never imposed. Batswana voted, and the Register of Society also voted. I would say pick the name that Batswana had voted, but it is not a matter of name. The name means, I would say, nothing as compared to the missions and values and the ethos of the institution.
No, because some people feel like they're being segregated. I had some DMs that said that make sure you ask him about the name, and I was like, no, the goal of the organization was to stop corruption, but I will bring it up.
Yes, no, but I'm not the one who picked the name. We had others that wanted to say
it's like saying, if you are not a native Botswana, you shouldn't be part of this.
No. Any other citizen is welcome. Unfortunately, the names were just put there, and then we had the other one that I really liked. I think it was Botswana Against Corruption or
BAC.
whatever, and something like. There were many names that I personally liked, but I did not have the final say. We gave it to Botswana, and on top of that, the Register of Society is the one who make final say. Like, you don't choose what.
I think you give them 5 or 10.
It has to be, and then they make a final say that okay is the next. But regardless of other things, when it comes to certain things, I would say that democracy would always prevail. Much as, of course, we have other communities that they are part of us. They play a role in Botswana. They are also affected by corruption. Corruption does not have a nationality.
Can I tell you something, Raymond? I'm a product of public education. All my life, from primary, junior, I wrote my PSLE in Muchudi, I wrote my JC there, I wrote my BGCSE at Naledi. So I've been raised by all that funding that you pay with your taxes. So I'm someone that is completely standing with you when you go against these corrupt individuals, because what I feel like is that money that would have been gone to that child like me is being taken away, and instead of going to healthcare and education, is going into chronic capitalists and in their pockets. So I agree with you on that. But some people feel segregated, like, okay, why are we being left aside? Like, now because we look a certain way, or
No. It's not how people look. Botswana, as you have seen our flag, it's blue, black, white. Botswana is for all, regardless of your skin color, regardless of whatever. That is why today I live in Ireland. I'm still a Muslim. I enjoy the rights that EU citizens enjoy. But there would be certain things that may feel like they are leaned towards white people in Ireland or Irish. But I know that they were meant for me. I have to benefit from that. Botswana, any person who live in Botswana, if they see corruption, or they are, like today, some, I would say, non-Botswana, or like literally even the name itself, actually, as a matter of fact, there's no one, we don't have something called natives in Botswana. Nobody can claim to be a native. It does not exist in our constitution. We don't have something called natives. We don't have that. Whether Basara, maybe they were supposed to be them, but there is nobody in Botswana who can say I'm a native Botswana. We are all Botswana, regardless of whatever any person, whether it's through birth or nationalization or whatever. Everyone of us.
I mean, we have had a president that was born in the UK, so
yes. So basically, we don't have that in other societies. They are native, they natives.
Yes. These indigenous Americans.
Yes, indigenous. No, in Botswana is that we are all Botswana, as long as you hold passport and Oman.
I appreciate just gesture of yours.
Yes, we do not discriminate. But one thing that we aim for is not the name; it's what we stand for. We don't want even non-Botswana to be, because foreigners, even where I come from, foreigners are exploited. Like police today, or any other institution, even BURS, they might even extort them more than a foreigner, a Botswana, because they will tell you that we might deport you. They will tell you we might build a case against you. So
they tell me that
they are more like they are vulnerable to exploitation and any other thing. So they must be protected.
I wanted to, we have an organization called Changemakers Botswana. We are an NGO that is like a youth-run NGO. We basically deal with making blood drives, road safety campaigns. So we have to go approach this so-called Batswana that are of different skin colors, because they are the ones who are in charge of most of these corporations. And one thing I realized, Raymond, it's that it's okay to say that, yeah, we're under this one umbrella, everyone is a Botswana, but I realized segregation from them as well. They have this apartheid thing where, after I finished my Form 5, I went to do A-levels at a private school. And I faced, for the first time in my life, I faced racism. Like all my life, I did not face, I went to public school, to government school, to Stona Media, and I never faced racism there. But the first time I went to a school where there were people that looked like me, and I faced racism, because I came from a lower class, to say. And it's funny to say, because there are some people who claim to be Batswana, who have the nationality, who have been here, who have the Omang and everything. Their children automatically get it, yet they don't speak a word of Setswana. Let's forget about not being able to speak, but they don't put in the effort to assimilate to the culture of the country. Or even they spend half of their time outside the country, and they benefit from all of the government programs, that the privileges that they have from that document. Do you think that is fair? Do you think that, because there's even one lady that is the CEO of one of the leading mineral companies that is 100% owned by Canada, and yet she's completely South African. Half of her family is in South Africa. She's just Botswana on paper, basically. She was an accountant at first, and through affirmative action to promote female in leadership, she got that role. I actually was in class with her son, when I went to that A-levels, and I faced like some new level of racism that I never thought I could face. And the fact that we looked the same, me and him looked the same, yet I faced racism because I came from public school, because they thought I was too, I was too Botswana, my accent was too, one word that they started making fun of, when I used to read examine, I would say examine, because when we go to Tswana medium, you read English differently. So they would be like, you don't know how to read. It started from there. So what's your take on these individuals who claim to be Botswana, yet don't put even 1% effort, yet they take 100% of the benefits?
It's very complex.
Yeah.
I mean, I was in Ireland. They might say that even though I did not nationalize, they might say that I did not put much effort in being Irish, because my heart was always home, even in many things.
No, but you never had the Irish citizenship.
No.
Right?
I mean, I think I'm not far from getting one, as in qualifying for one. But even if I had one, I think I would still hold my country primary residence to my heart. One thing that, however, that I can only comment on is racism, is segregation. What exists in our country is what I would call, it's a class society. Sort of, we have classism. If it was in maybe India, would say it's a caste system, whereby there are others of certain divide and others of certain divide.
The untouchables.
Yeah, so they that class of what you are wearing, where you come from, what you're driving. So that thing end up being part of our society, how we deal with certain people, which family are you from. There is that element that exists. I wouldn't call it racism as such. What is we see is that it's class based, and then after that, then there would be racism. Then there would be, I'd say, tribalism. Certain people will be looked at certain way, how they speak, and a lot of things. Like there is that thing that needs to be, even when you ask certain things, you approach certain institution, you might be addressed certain way or dealt with certain way because you are from this particular class. So in Botswana, we also have something called networks, even though it's not networking as such. To me, I feel like it's you literally need to bot click, you need to do certain things in order to get certain things. So there is a lot of things that I would say it needs sort of cultural revolution. We need to revolutionize our culture. We need to change certain things. We need to get this. There was something that the previous government did. It was called mindset change. We need a mindset change.
Changing.
We need to change how we perceive, how we do certain things for the betterment of our country.
It reminds me of that KFC incident that you had mentioned. I never actually got the full story. And do you mind sharing the whole thing?
Well, I wouldn't be much privy to details. All I know is that a gentleman went into a KFC. Then there was no pap, morogo, and meat.
Does KFC sell that? KFC sells pap?
Yes, it does. So they did not cook at that time when he went. So he went into a firing mode. He started saying a lot of things towards the cashier, despite the lady telling him that we had cooked small because at this particular hour we usually receive fewer foot traffic, and that's why instead of saying, okay, but I've been here as he claimed, maybe escalate this to the manager, or I'd like to open a case or a query or complaint, he just went on and then said, okay, he was recording that he would forward the video to the management. Instead of forwarding it, he simply took it through the social media, as well as that, like he was killing two birds with one stone. And to me, he might have been right, but the manner in which the tone and how he expressed it on social media, it was wrong, because if you are dealing with an institution, you should try and avoid making it about a person, because now it was more like that case.
He was attacking a person.
Yeah, the person who has no managerial decision or any other thing. So that's why he failed. If also businesses evolve, they might not sell a certain thing at a certain hour because there is no one who is buying that. Why cook a pap and then throw it away the next day? You need to look at the matrix of the business. Even my perfume business, for example, there were perfumes that I advertised, but because those were hard to find, or the people were not buying them in large numbers, not every day that I sold them. So
what was your fast moving one? Maybe you can plug something.
The Joe Maloney and many other perfumes, many of them, Mason Cravelli, it's mainly from family, and Tom Ford's, many others. So but any other things, even them, they would say, if you look at that terms and conditions, subject to availability. So the availability means that one, is there someone who is able to cook pap at that time? Two, do they even have the pap itself to cook? Do they even have electricity at that time? You cannot say that this is a false advertising or false marketing. False advertising, you need to tell me that I've been here every hour for the last 30 days and you never saw this. Now remove it, because it has passed that certain thing. Not when you come every day at 3 a.m. or the last thrice or 4 times at 3 a.m. Who would cook pap at 3 a.m. when it is not in demand?
Actually, it reminds, I don't know if you know Trevor Noah, right?
Yeah.
And I don't know if you remember his old specials back when he was still around here, when he used to come to Botswana also. He had one of his specials where he said, never insult a service industry person or a hospitality person. And, you know, he joked it. He said, you know those burkis, you know those, what do we call them? When we were in history class, we used to call them, buatrekas. So those individuals, they are normally big and they get aggressive very quickly. So they'll come to the KFC window and they'll be like, hey, dumelang chepo, kekupa pap in palich, okay? And make it quick, make it snappy. And then the lady will be like, all right, sir, I'll give you something. Then she makes something, goes to the next counter, he receives it. This is how Trevor knows it. He says it's better. I think you should look it up. So he gets to the next counter, she gives it to him. And he's like, what the bloody hell is this? This is not what I ordered. You don't know who I am. And she's like, okay, sorry, sir. She takes it back. And then they say, special order. They say, hey, love, this one is a special order. So now they make the right thing. But then the guy is... he's making it a special order. So people forget something. The guy that is bringing your food, you don't insult that person.
No,
you respect
have to,
that person.
I always say people that if there is any person that you have to respect in life, a security officer, the cleaner, as a waiter or waitress, and a cook, all these people that you might think they hold lower paying job or blue collar jobs, they are integral part of our society. Actually, to me, there are people that we cannot, that are critical skill workers, we cannot work without them. I can imagine if all the cooks, all the waiters, waitresses, security officers, cleaners, and those people who collect trash were to call it quit and they don't go to work,
the system will stop.
The system will collapse. Sewage workers and everything, the system will collapse, because we need those people in any part of
they
the
are
society.
essential workers.
They are essential workers. So, but unfortunately for some people, they look down on them, but they forget that these people are the ones who clean my own dirt, or
they do the job that you would not do.
That you would not do, and the job that literally, like you said, they would even throw whatever. I can imagine if that person say, okay, fine, we'll cook this thing for you, and then they put something that might affect their immune system or whatever. So people need to be understanding, and they need not to be understanding, empathy. They need to be mannered enough to know that people provide service. If you have a complaint, say it, address it. If someone's saying, okay, we are sorry, we'll do better next time, then you can say, okay, open a query.
Did he apologize or something?
The lady was so apologetic, she even...
No, I mean him. Did he apologize to her?
No, she never apologized. Even now, he never apologized. He still thinks that he's right. And that
Batubari is connected to the president or something.
Yeah, he used to be part of the photographer to the former first lady. Or, so he had those political connections. So I think eventually it's what we would call people get drunk with power.
I think that is privilege, that's what people are getting. Earlier on when I was talking about that school incident, I think it was privilege. Some individuals are too accustomed to their privilege that they forget they are still, there's a lack of checks and balances, that causes problems, because now when you are used to being given everything, and then that one time you are not given something, you react, and then for them in their mind they think they are doing the right thing, but as the observers from the third eye, we can see that there's, I wanted to ask you about the recent protest. I don't know if you're aware, recently there was a protest that went by temporary teachers to the Ministry of Home Affairs and Labor. So I believe that was a second peaceful protest of the new regime, under the new regime.
I think it's the third.
The third.
Yeah, it's Ceda, and then Botswana Accounting College protest, then temporary teachers. But to me, of course, the president is accommodative to protest, but for me, protests are a sign that there's nothing being done. You don't need many protests in order for you to say that I'm functioning democracy. You need to make sure that...
But is it not healthy though?
From the bigger lens of things, it is, but from the smaller, it is not. People protest because there's nothing being done. If, for example, those things, they are legitimate concerns that all they needed is that the minister said, we are open for offices, any queries, any feedback, any suggestions. That's supposed to be part of the mandate of the new government to address. They are systemic. They do not require people to protest. Right now...
So are you saying that the new government has not done anything? The
government is seemingly waiting for people to complain to take an action. That's not how the government should be.
Do you feel like it's because the system is still the old system, like the bureaucrats are still the same?
Yeah, then it means that the government is failing to
replace them.
Yeah, to replace the old system. Right now, we have one of the things that the manifesto of the UDC is that, and it's dealing with unemployment. I think we promised people, 500,000 jobs or 200,000 jobs. I can't recall from the top of my head, but we have been making job promises since 2014, 2019, and 2014, 2019. We were, and 2024 we were making job promises. So if you promise people 200,000 or 100,000 jobs or whatever jobs,
and then now they announced that they want to cut public jobs actually,
and they did not actually. One of the economists, the economist was advising that either you cut salaries or wage bill, or you. But one thing that I think is that if he is of the view that that is the only option that, or those are the two options that could work, of reducing civil service, whatever, he should go first. He should lead by example. Let him take the fall.
Even Indaba said that him and Boko are gonna take a pay cut this year, right?
No. One of the things that they have done, I forgot, but they did something in terms of their pay. I forgot what that is.
I think for 1 year they said something that they would take a cut for their pay.
Yeah, I'm not sure if it's a pay or whatever. Something to deal with the allowances. I'm not sure what they did, but to me, those, of course, they are what I would call symbolic gestures. What we need is not for people to take cuts. We need to, one, make sure that there is a revenue in place. That is job creation should be there, and then trying to make sure that our diamonds are to diversify our economy. We need to make sure that there is revenue. We need to also ensure that there is tax being collected. We need also to ensure that in terms of corruption, we try to close those gaps. There is what we call wastage. A lot of money goes into waste in our country. Even things that do not require.
So you think there should be an oversight committee?
Yes, we need to make sure that the government spending, there is a lot of that is being spent towards unnecessary things, unnecessary activities.
What about, you mean last regime?
Even right now, for example, take a 5-kilometer road in Botswana.
Yeah.
The amount or the cost of that road, it's 4 times, 5 times higher than South Africa. That goes on to show, like literally, there is, in terms of tendering processes, figures are being, like, you can't benchmark in any, whether South Africa,
why are they not reserving it for local companies?
No. Whether you reserve it for local companies, we need to make sure that our budgets for roads, it's almost equal to other countries. We cannot build a 5-kilometer road at the amount that in South Africa or in any other part of the world, it will be for 50-kilometer road or 30-kilometer road.
I don't think it's that much.
I had some figures that I can easily pull, that I did my own assignment. I realized that the amount that is being spent on a 1-kilometer road in South Africa to even build 10 kilometers or 5 kilometers for that type of road, the budget for that, we inflate figures. When it comes to government,
do you think someone is getting it instead of the contractor?
Yes. What happens in Botswana is that there's so much corruption that even people who adjudicate over corruption or tenders, those who, like, you have to, grease everyone's hand. And even that is why in Botswana, before you even start the work, you can even go and buy GD6, 4 GD6 cash before you even start the project.
Yes, we have never seen that money.
Okay, but there is so much money in terms of.
No, I believe you. I'm just saying that as the youth, we are very young individuals.
Yes, no. The youth are marginalized in our society.
You know, actually, let me give you an example. I'm cutting you off, but so earlier today we had a presentation at BIH, and I quoted them the figures for the software we are developing, and you know what they told me? They're like, this is very, very little. So as the youth, we don't even know about how much to charge, because I get a BIH and all these other BTC and them, they're giving out tenders to these people who are charging them a lot. So when we gave them realistic figures, they're like, this is too little. They literally told us the amount you are quoting us is too small. So you can imagine the youth don't even know the actual value.
That is because they don't. One thing, what they should have done, Statistics Botswana was supposed to share some of this.
They're refusing now.
The pricing model, the figures. They're supposed to be having a functioning website in terms of to advise. Like if you want to say, okay, rent in Gaborone, you should be able to go on Statistics website Botswana. Houses in Gaborone.
But you know, they collect the data, but they refuse to give it to the public. Because they call, there's a lot of businesses that they call them to confirm the prices of oils, of plugs, everything. Every month they call. So they are collecting that data.
What are they using it for then?
That's what I'm asking.
They need to, I think the new government should pressurize them so that we can have what we call.
Because I was doing a research for BURS once, and I asked them, can I please have the data for this thing? And they said no. And I said, but you collect it monthly, because I'm one of the people that you call to collect this data. And then they're like, no, but we are not allowed to give it out.
Then we need to pressurize the government to ensure that data is available to Botswana for research, for even consumer purposes. Like in Ireland, for example, any data that I want, figures, if I want to know the price of bread, I simply go into the website and check the average price of bread. Any other things, it's always the rent. And you can literally, if right now you want to relocate to Ireland or any country, you can look at the prices of anything and then have estimates, budget from healthcare, from insurances, anything is there.
Like up to date, isn't it?
It's up to date.
You know, in Botswana, you'll find something from 10 years ago.
No. There, it's literally every 3 months you'd have, at least in the last 3 months, you'd have average prices. Even if they would have changed, they wouldn't have been changed by 10 times from the last time they were collected.
Raymond, I want to ask you something. You know, we I think a few months ago, the Ceda thing was popping a lot. How did you come to that? Like, did someone approach you, or was it something you were working on for months or years?
No, many years I've always been critical of Ceda. So that came also along the line when I was starting to, and then it became so a lot of people usually share information. So now I got so many files that I felt like overwhelmed that now this is the time for me to share. So I've always, even 3-4 years ago, I had always been critical of Ceda because I've always known that there were allegations. Until now, the reports were sent and other information were sent to me.
Do you think that you have achieved some sort of victory right now because he's suspended?
Not necessarily. There is a process in everything.
Yeah.
There is a war, there is a battle. We have won the war, but the battle is on.
Do you think that he will actually be prosecuted, or because of the money he might not?
You know, the problem is that when you suspend someone after almost 60 days of there being a petition, it meant that whether the allegations were true or false, he might have tampered with them. There are many things that would have happened.
Yes.
So therefore, I believe that the suspension came late. In Botswana, I think we are slow to act. Therefore, we cannot say we won until the last day. Right now, we are optimistic and hopeful that there would be that audit, the forensic audits, and that would bring something up to the table that we might say, indeed, we have achieved something. So far, we are just saying, yeah, there has been a bit of positive progress. We are thankful of those, and we are hoping that the government would live up to its promise, and therefore would also see forensic audit in many other organizations.
But isn't they said they will update you every 7 days or something?
We were in a meeting last week with them, and they said that that is not possible, regular updates, because if it's gonna be an independent forensic audit, if you share with me, it means that it would compromise that independence. There would be a pressure. So they wanted to say, okay, fine, would just give maybe updates on ministry as in when it is required. Yeah, but not specifically to these, because we want it to be independent. But as soon as it is completed, of course, we would offer a very comprehensive update.
And when was the date that they gave you?
No, they refused, saying that after they have given what I would call the sort of the guidelines to the forensic audit, that's when they would, or the terms of reference, that's when we would at least figure out how long. It might be 3 months, it might be more, or it might be less. So, but we are just.
Did they disclose who's the auditors?
No, they said that it's gonna be a public procurement process. It will be published on newspapers and everything.
Yeah, because there is you see how there is a real estate mafia. There is also, when it comes to legal things, Advocate Cole here is a well-known advocate here. He works in these firms, and the other day he was telling me that it's like there's this law firm that is you are the client for them, right? Now this other law firm is auditing something that you are working in, and they are just friends there also. They are just sending you to another brother of theirs, basically.
Yeah, no, we'll see. But they said that it's gonna be publicly available, because we're asking about conflict of interest and everything. But also, one thing that I think I've heard is like it might be a South African firm, not a Botswana firm.
But South Africans, they have already done so much. You know how these guys, even at BURS, I think there was someone from South Africa who was.
No, the procurement was bad for BURS.
Because I believe that there is more corruption that side than here, and those guys are very good at it. They know how to hide it. So don't you think it should be like someone with a very clean record, even though they are not that well known?
The problem is that they have to express their interest. We are not sure who. We cannot say preempt and say this person is a clean record. We believe that as long as they can be a forensic auditor, as long as there are terms of reference, as long as there is an oversight, as long as there is transparency and accountability, we cannot preempt and impose a person saying this, because we are not. This is not a fault-finding mission. This is not to convict. It is to find out the truth, and there are terms of reference that must be followed. Yeah,
Raymond, so now we are coming to the end of this, and then there is the second part of this is where we make an artwork with you. So it's a very easy to make artwork. We have a setup up there. I want us to go there, and then we'll do a spray art, basically.
All right.
And we'll make something. So basically the goal of this is that at the end of the season, all the guests we have had, we collect all of their artworks and we auction it, because we have an NGO for mental health awareness. That's the one that you saw on Instagram. So basically we post the artworks there. Normally we get customers from there, but this time around we are not going to sell them. We're going to keep all of them until the end of season. Then we invite everyone. I think we've had these 2 upcoming MPs from different parties that we are trying to, I was talking to you earlier how sometimes after, and then we use the stencil as this thing, the cycle, to make a planet. Are you okay, Raymond?
Yes, no. Okay.
Everything is fine. No, I feel like is something wrong? Something happened? Do you have to?
Oh, no. Just that horror eventually after that I feel a bit exhausted, but we will go on.
Okay. All right. No. You wanna take a break or something?
No. If I take, I would be going home.
Okay, no
Yeah.
problem. Are you on? Go. Just turn on that one. Leave the main camera. It's fine if it's not.
It's on.
It's on, right? Okay. I think you can have one. You'll just need to use for one hand
Okay.
because I'll be making with you. Alright, so let me put on this. Are you allergic to something pain?
Oh no.
Okay. I think there's one for you. If you want another one.
No, I'm
You're good.
okay.
You're good. Okay. That's why we're putting it in it. Are you on?
Yeah.
No, did you start recording yet?
Yeah, I did.
The mics are on?
Yeah.
Okay, alright. Okay, so Raymond, this is the part where we now make an artwork that will be later auctioned off. So this artwork will be signed by both of us. This is like the artwork that we create for the project basically. So which colors do you want to start off with?
Random.
Just choose one from your side. Yeah, you spray in the second. Yeah. Now I'm gonna fill that. Now add a different color, make some contrast, and then make some contrast. Okay. Add some red there or some bright color as well on top of that. Now I'm just gonna. So the layer that you put underneath is the layer that stays basically. The last ones you put are the ones we are peeling off. Alright. So this is basically a calming exercise of sorts. You know. Now we just make patterns with this. So I'm gonna put it on, and then you do basically this, and then you peel. So you do that repeatedly on the side. Yeah. Now, normally when you use the back of the hand, the patterns are better. Likely, Raymond, right? Why are you hammering the paper, my friend?
Should I remove?
Yes. Yeah, and then you continue to make these patterns along. Yes.
So how did you discover this?
I discovered this, you know when after the death of my dad during COVID, I was just having issues of my own, staying alone and, depression and stuff. There's a saying in Botswana, I get it when you have food at home, so why are you crying? You should, as it's a traditional thing whereby they say depression is for white people, but that's not the reality. Even Batswana face issues of depression. Even though you might have food at home, your mental health might not be well. Losing people can affect you negatively. People go into alcohol, drugs, other things. So I found a creative way, and I teach others who are in this to also find avenues that are creative, that don't hurt your health in the process. Now what we are creating is the atmosphere around it. So this is basically gonna be one of our planets. And I've got a gift for you, Raymond. I don't know if you're gonna like it or not. I've got a gift that's engraved that I did it myself, by the way.
Oh, thanks.
And I want you to use that to put your initials on this. Okay, so now we've done this. This is for you.
Oh, thanks.
Yeah, you can have a look at it. Open it. I hope I got the spelling
Oh,
correct.
thanks. No, thanks.
You can show it to the camera for once. And then just engrave it like let me do it first. Let me do it first, and then you'll see. So basically, I just use like this, and then I just do that. Yeah. Oh, that's an interesting signature. Now I'm just gonna make some atmosphere, some nice lights. I don't know if this is well, different people have different takes on the spray art thing. Some say that it's graffiti, but I don't do it on walls and stuff. I'm not doing it as a way to destroy, to vandalize. Now while it dries, we're gonna have a conversation, but I want you to have a look at it, what you have created. This is an artwork that you have created. You can see. So basically, this will be going for auction with the other paintings. And then, so basically, we asked the guests what they would pay for it. That will be the opening bid. So what would you bid on this? If you were to buy this painting, how much would you pay for it?
I don't know much about the value of painting.
You know, that's what they all say, ne? That's what they all say.
No, it will depend on the on then. Maybe 1.5 or more. Or...
That's a very big number. That's a very big number. So I hope you attend the auction, because if no one buys it, I'm hoping then you would bid on it for 1.5. So, but by the way, 100% of the proceeds that we get from the auction are going to mental health awareness, basically. So it will just be for charity. We don't take a commission, because recently we had some lady doing an exhibition at the National Museum for the I think it was the Kuru Arts Festival or something, and she ended up using the artworks from those old ladies, and then she registered a company and made profits from that. So we don't do that. 100% of the profits are going directly to mental health awareness. We don't take a cut or a commission. Even the paints and everything comes from our sponsors. We don't say that, no, because I spent this much on paint, I'm taking this much as commission. Yeah. So while this one dries, I want to ask you to, like everyone, I hope that by the end of the season we have a lot of signatures. Yes, sir. Just 5 more minutes, I'll release you.
No, I was looking at the date. I forgot.
I think 21st.
Yeah.
I think we have an interesting backdrop right now.
25.
So, Raymond, I wanted to ask you something on a lighter note. You don't mind if we joke around a bit again? So, Raymond, why are you against corruption? Tell us.
Because it has more effect than a guy stealing my phone, more effect than a guy stealing food at one of the retail stores. It has far-reaching impact. Having been in Ireland, I've noticed how my country, though it is rich, has suffered from corruption, from classrooms, projects that collapsed, that could have benefited me, having suffered as a result of corruption. So that is why it has affected me. When you travel, you realize that my country is though rich, though having good policies, but corruption has taken a lot. And I feel and I believe that if it is fought and uprooted, my country would be, I'd say, I'm not sure, Dubai of Africa, or
we should
New
be
York
Botswana of Africa,
or Botswana, like something like Botswana is destined to be one of the greatest countries.
But you know, there is deep-rooted corruption that we need to remove with legislation. Like
no, not legislation as such, but each one of us taking a stand. Legislation will come later. The problem is that in Botswana we have this on Otanjisang, we have these things of anything that we do, we believe in greasing people's hands, even in our culture. It's a part of our culture. We have normalized corruption that even at a smaller scale of things, an official today might help you on a normal thing like processing a normal application. Say, like we are not supposed to do that. If you want lunch, ask it from your friends. I'm not your friend. I'm here there for a service. So once you do that, I would be no, maybe he's going through something, let me help. But that is the gateway towards corruption. You're not supposed to ask for money from that. If you are having issues with money, then not in a place of work. You can just go on the street and then ask for money, guys. But now when you do it, because it is quite difficult today, if a police officer was to stop me, maybe for traffic violation or for anything, not traffic violation, then the first time I'm compelled to give to them. Because
and
if
you are
I
partaking
don't,
in the problem.
you are partaking, because if you don't, they might look at it at a certain way, or they might start saying, okay, let me look at your car. What do you have? Something, maybe your car is out of date or whatever, your tires are out of date, whatever. So I believe that it's a mindset thing. If Botswana can hate corruption the same way they hate a guy, like, you know, the way in which Botswana deal with pickpocketers at the bus rank, they might even kill a thief who stole a phone.
Yeah, no, they
So
beat
if
them
they
up.
can give that energy,
Yeah. You
In
want
terms
us
of-
to be the CEO of that place?
definitely, but white collar criminals should be dealt with not just to be assaulted, but in terms of the reaction has to be strong as the way we are dealing with
Yeah.
thieves, small time thieves. So if you are to do that, hate it as individuals, policies would come because they'll know, you know what, the
Yeah,
nation
they're
hates
gonna get
corruption.
hammered.
So some things don't require policy, but our mindset, our cultural change. Once we have that, policies should be simply rubber stamping what is there. Policies are ineffective when the culture, when the sentiment, when the belief system, it's more like accommodating to that. We should shun
So
corruption.
if I ask you this, you know, I was trying to take you on a lighter note, and you went into something very deep. So I want to ask you something. If it comes to the point where you have to go after the current government, would you do so?
I don't owe the government anything. They don't owe me anything. If I violate the law, they should go after me.
No, would you go after investigating them, like how you have done?
Definitely, if they are to do anything wrong, for the love of my country, I'll go after them. I don't owe them anything.
What about the
I
brothers?
owe my country. My patriotism is not to the government, it's not to the ministers, it's not to, yes, they are my fellow comrades, but it is not to them. My patriotism, it is to Botswana. That's the thing that I owe my loyalty to, not to individuals. Individuals come and go, but my country stand. I want this country for my children, great grandkids to inherit it, to find it in a better state than I came. I want to leave it in a better state than I found it. So if I'm to be, my loyalty is not to the government of the day, it is to Botswana of now and Botswana of tomorrow. Government comes and go, people come and go, but what we need is to make sure that Botswana is a perfect society even tomorrow.
No, thank you so much. And is there anything in closing that you would like to say to the public?
Well, I wish you a growth in your
Thank you, sir.
project.
Thank you, sir.
I wish Botswana well in their endeavors. I wish Botswana well. I pray and hope that Botswana becomes one of the greatest countries.
Amen, amen.
And I hope Botswana also take a stand against corruption. I hope Botswana take a stand also against mental health. There is a lot that needs to be done in terms of mental health education in our society, or public education, because Botswana, they don't understand mental health. Even when the signs are there, they would either confuse it with the boloi or something else.
Go to a sangoma instead.
Yes, so we need to have society. We need to invest a lot on mental health. We need to invest a lot on fighting corruption and public education.
Is there any questions you have for us, for me, or for him?
Oh no! I
Get your text.
No, I'm here to get it probably when my finances are allowed. Right now I was dealing with a lot because it requires finance and time. But definitely I think I have identified the person. Hopefully maybe in February or March I'll get it.